now we run a mental health company related to athletes, and we work with athletes on their mental health and their mental well-being in a holistic way. And we do it so more so in a coaching. Well, we have psychoeducation where we do workshops on anxiety. We have a safe student certification for mental health, where we, increase their abilities, their skills, and their knowledge around mental health. And we also help them with their life outside of sports. And so that's just kind of like the progression of my life and how I ended up here today.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the empowering podcast challenging norms and guiding you to find strength and power through vulnerability. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. In a world that often portrays vulnerability as a sign of weakness, I believe it is a source of tremendous strength and authenticity. Through insightful conversations and thought provoking interviews, Vulnerability Muscle aims to redefine vulnerability and help listeners develop a new perspective on their own lives. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle delves into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability in healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth, as well as fostering meaningful connections. This podcast provides practical tools and strategies to navigate life's challenges, overcome adversity, and create more inclusive and just environments for all people. In this episode, we have Eric D. Capehart. Eric is a professional counselor, one of the first mental health professionals that we have on the show. Professional counselor and life coach, and founder and managing partner of Relate to Athletes LLC, which is a mental wellness company for student athletes. Uh, we have a fantastic conversation about Eric's background in mentoring and how that helped spark this career in mental health and really counseling folks. He talks about his work that he does with student athletes and how his ability to relate and be culturally competent in what he does, how that helps him in his business. We talk about a lot of vulnerable topics, such as the death of his sister, which he shares with us. And then we talk about fatherhood. And Eric talks about the absence of his father growing up in a story that may open your eyes, but how that has shaped his parenting as a father himself. A fantastic story, a very inspirational story from Eric, and I can't wait till you hear just some of the nuggets and wisdom that he shares because of his background in mental health. I think it's going to be a very powerful story for you to hear. So, with no further ado, let's embrace vulnerability with Eric D. Capehart. Eric Capehart, how you doing, my bro?
What's up, man? I'm doing pretty good, Reggie.
Good, man. It looks like you're doing good, man. Catch me up, man. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life right now.
My life, what's going on in
Yeah.
my life? Let me think about it. Being a dad, my kids just
Okay.
started back school a couple days ago. So just trying to get back into the rhythm of coming out of the summer, going back into the school situation. We're building Relate to Athletes and getting ready for our conference in 2024. Just really looking forward to that, bringing partners together, trying to take our event from what it was last year and just kind of expand upon it. We got some feedback on some things that we can do to make it more, I'd say, more fun, really, to be
Yeah,
honest, just to have more
definitely.
fun. It was a long day last year. I know you were there as a speaker, and it was a long day, but we were working to shorten the day and just add a festive component to it. So, still excited about working with the Titans with that. We're working to get to host a conference at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Let's see how that
Shout
turns out.
out.
Your old stomping grounds, but you seem to
Oh
be up there
yeah.
all the time still,
I
uh,
try to stick around there a little bit. Yeah.
man.
Done
So
good things for me.
that's the plan, man. That's what we got going on with that. And man, just
Good.
just really honestly, Reggie, just trying to take care of myself. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Just trying to live a good life, lower my anxieties. You know what I'm saying? Kind of
Hmm.
be more in the present, more so than always in the future. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? When I always find myself thinking about the future and almost living in the future,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
it's important for me to come back to today, as you know, just about being more mindful of the moment.
Absolutely.
That's kind of where I'm at, man.
That's a good recap. I love that. I think one of my favorite quotes is I think it's from Lao Tzu. It's if you're living in the past, you're depressed. If you're living in the future, you're anxious. But if you want to be at peace, you got to live in the present. And so like trying to get back to the present is a hard thing. That's why, like, do you do anything to help you with that?
Man, I do. I have been slacking on it recently, man. I just been in a little funk, man. It's just I don't know what it is, but normally I'm working out, doing the boxing training, or I've been bike riding a lot. I rode a lot in this past month. With I did it for a fundraiser, so I rode my bike a lot,
Okay.
and also really just trying to be more present in the moment, like just be aware of the moment. And,
Mhm.
and find myself in the moments where I'm thinking about the future or like stuck in the future in my head.
Mhm.
It's just about being aware of that. So I'm really trying to be more aware of my thoughts to help me come back to the moment. And some days, Reggie, I'm just like in the moment. I could be doing anything, and I'm really focused on enjoying that moment because
Yes.
you know life is lived in that moment,
Absolutely.
right? Life is only lived in the moment that we share, which is the moment like we're sharing the moment now. This is the only real time is right now. And
Mm.
so I've been really just being more aware of that and just trying to stay focused on now.
Yes, that's
And there's
beautiful.
a lot of
That's
things, man,
beautiful.
that we do. I mean, I'm not. I haven't done any yoga or anything. I know you're a yoga
Yeah.
teacher, but I just think it's important for me to be aware of my thoughts. That's really helping me these days.
Yeah. I think if we all could become more aware of our thoughts, we would react a little bit differently and the world would be a little bit better. So, you're the first mental health professional that I've had an interview with. And I'm just curious, like, what what was the background leading up to becoming certified in what you do, and really taking that on and being a passion of yours?
Man, my whole journey to me it started through a nonprofit that I ran. I started a nonprofit in 2007, a mentoring organization for boys called All the King's Men. And I
Hmm.
did that for 11 years and was rolling with that. And along the way, I found myself kind of being like a counselor, to not only the boys that we were mentoring, but even their families. I remember there would be days where I would go sit at the dinner table or the kitchen table with these families and just hear out the challenges that they were faced with. I didn't know what to do about it really. I mean, I was just a mentor to the boy, but it was something about it though that seemed to be transformative for for that family. And so,
Hmm.
just through my experiences as a mentor with all the King's Men and mentoring hundreds of boys, it kind of made me look into psychology and counseling. And I just really just went for it from there, Reggie. I had
Yeah.
already been through graduate school, ran a successful lawn business. I was now starting this mentoring organization, and so I didn't really want to go back to school
Hmm.
to be a therapist, but I did. I ended up going back to school, went to Liberty University for my second master's degree. I started there in 20, I think 14, and I got out
Hmm.
in 2017. Ended up being the assistant director of counseling at a local college, and that's the story. It's not something that I always wanted to do my whole life or nothing like that. It seemed like the right transition at the time to really help the boys in the organization more. So really my whole ultimate goal, which it came to fruition, was to combine the mentoring with the mental health. And
Hmm.
so that's exactly what I did. And in my practice today, I work with a lot of young boys, and I tell their parents like, you know, I really work more so with them in a coaching role now, and I use my counseling skills, but I'm really more like a mentor to these boys, and I use my counseling skills and my background to help them and to help their families at times. But that's the story, man. I never thought about doing this work, but it's just kind of like the way that my life progressed, and here I am today. I now work. We run a mental health company, relate to athletes, and we work with athletes
Yeah.
on their mental health and their mental well-being in a holistic way. And
Hmm.
we do it so more so in a coaching. Well, we have psychoeducation where we do workshops on anxiety. We have a safe student certification for mental health, where we increase their abilities, their skills, and their knowledge around mental health. We also help them with their life outside of sports.
Hmm.
And so that's just kind of like the progression of my life and how I ended up here today.
Definitely, man. That's powerful, and it's like it's passion. I mean, you see it, you can hear it. It's passion in what you do. What prompted mentoring? Did you have some fantastic mentors in your life to help you get to where you were, and what made you want to start that organization?
Man, you know what? What made me really want to start it was when I was in undergrad at Tennessee State University, I would work with a group where we were doing mentoring. I had never mentored in my life. I didn't have mentors growing up.
Mhm.
I mean, I had coaches and I played sports and I used that as
Mhm.
a mentor per se. Not necessarily the coaches, but the game and my position when I played
Mm.
football, I was a defensive back or I was a halfback, and so I used football as a mentor to me because when you learn the plays, you know about positioning and you know how to read what your opponent is doing, and it always taught you how to be in the right place at the right time. Or if you do this, you know what I'm saying? It taught me different things about life. And so I use sports as a mentor. But what really prompted me to want to be a mentor was I was mentoring these young kids in a local housing project here in Nashville. And I'll never forget, man, this little black kid, he was 5 years old, and they matched me up with him. And it was just really just, I don't know, man, it just felt so right to
Yeah.
mentor him. He really, I could tell that my presence was really helping him. He was really getting something from me being a part of his life, and I just felt right. And so from there, I just any opportunity I had to mentor, I would do it. And then I ended up just deciding, hey, I see a need in my community, and so I got a couple of buddies of mine, and we started a mentoring organization that ended up lasting for 11 years before I transitioned
Wow.
to that.
Wow. That is
That's
fantastic.
how I
That's
went, man. I
so
don't really get to
amazing.
tell that story a lot, but I wrote about it in my book, The Miracle Maker,
Mhm.
uncovering the hidden miracles of mentorship. Because Reggie, I really believe, and I think you probably would agree that there are miracles that happen within a
Absolutely.
mentor relationship. And when I say
Yeah.
miracle, I mean like certain things that would not have happened had it not been for that particular mentor relationship. And
Right.
those to me are the miracles in a mentor relationship. And so it's just what I do, man. I wake up every day looking forward to helping somebody make their life better, and at the same time edifying my own life, knowing that I'm actually living and walking in my purpose.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think I always say like I don't think anybody here was placed on this earth, no matter what your belief is, like if it's God, if it's Allah, or whatever, like um we weren't placed here just to serve ourselves. Like it would be a zero sum game if that was the case. Like we were all placed here to better the life of somebody else in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Like it may look different for me than does for you and everybody else, but I love that you're using your skills and your gifts to help people's lives. Like that's beautiful. Like I absolutely love that, man. So yeah, so tell me a little bit about how did you get to college? Were you first generation? Were you had you come from a line of folks who had gone to college?
No, man. So my mother went to college. So I'm the second of five kids,
Okay.
and for the most part, and the only male. So I have four sisters. One is deceased. She passed away in when did she pass? 2003, actually. No,
I'm sorry for that.
2004. But I grew up in a single parent household, but I saw my mom like walking and catching the bus going to college. I remember
Mm,
sitting in class with my mom. You know what I'm saying? My mom's not that much older than me, and
mm-hmm.
so I would remember sitting in school. She was a non-traditional student at the time, but I would go to class with her. I would see her walk into the bus stop to catch the bus to go to school, and so
Wow.
that kind of made me. And my mom was like, "Y'all going to college? You guys need to do whatever you need to do, but I'm going to make sure that you guys go to college so that you can have an opportunity to better your life." Because this was back. I went to college in '99, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm from that era where a college degree actually still had a little bit of a little bit of
Yeah.
weight to it, right? And it was a way out, and so I saw my mom doing that, and one of my best friends, he's a what 2 years older than me, so when he graduated from high school, he ended up going to college, and so I just was like, I'm going to college too, and that's how I ended up. I graduated from high school, and I actually had a 1.9 grade point average out of high school.
Wow,
And so, of
really?
course, I'm not getting into no university, so I went to a community college for one
Mm-hmm.
semester, and that's when I really realized that if I really just apply myself, I can be like a scholar, and
Yeah.
that's what I did. I just applied myself, got my grade point average up, transferred out in one semester, went to Tennessee State University, and the rest is history. Now I have
Wow.
multiple college degrees.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, and like I mean, I could just imagine some of your teachers back then thinking you weren't a good student, and it's not about a good student or not. Like you had the capability of doing all of that stuff, and you obviously proven that. So that's, man, beautiful testament. I love that. So why working with student athletes? What was the impetus in going that direction with your business and all the work that you do?
Really, I'm an athlete at heart. You know, I was an athlete all of my younger life. I guess retired. I broke my shoulder freshman year at college.
Okay.
I was actually I broke my shoulder before the tryout. I didn't get any scholarships or anything like that. But I was gonna walk on and try to at least try to walk onto the team. Broke my shoulder,
Mhm.
and that pretty much ended that part for me as a like playing. But it doesn't go away. Like I've
Right.
always been athletic. I'm a boxing coach today. I work with athletes, and really what it was, the catalyst, Reggie, was when I was deciding to become a therapist. That's what I said I wanted to do. I want to work with college athletes, and so
Mhm.
all through school, that was my focus. I graduated from Liberty University with my second master's degree, and ended up getting a role at Tennessee State University. And they actually, my role was to work with the athletes.
Yeah.
And so it's like a vision, you know, it's like having a vision for your future and walking it out, letting it
Mm.
manifest. And I
Yes.
realized that there's a relatability factor that I come to the table with when I'm doing my work.
Certainly.
And that
Yep.
relatability factor, it actually breaks down some of those walls, and it makes the guys and the women that I work with less apprehensive to work with somebody that does what I do, because they just looking at me off the rip. They're like, okay, all right, let's bring it down a little.
Mhm.
And then as we're doing our work, it's almost like, you know, it's not friends, but it's a friendly relationship, but it's a
Yep.
professional relationship. So I feel right at home working with athletes. I understand their life. I understand there's a big difference. As you know, being a college athlete is not like being a regular student. Even
Not
though
at all.
people in my world sometimes try to say, "Oh, you shouldn't separate the two. It's the same." I'm
It's
like,
a totally different thing.
it's just not, right? And you know,
Yeah.
it takes someone like you to attest to that. Like, it's not the same. I would
Right.
work with student athletes; they will hardly ever even see anybody else in the school.
Yeah.
If it
Right.
wasn't, if they weren't in an actual class, they probably didn't interact with what they call the NARPs or regular students. You know, have you ever heard the term NARP?
Nart, muggles,
Yeah, all that,
yeah,
right?
all of it. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like that terminology right there lets you know that, hey, it's a thing, right? And
Right.
so you know, I just feel really comfortable working with athletic people. It's a mentality that
Yeah.
athletes have, like
Yeah.
discipline, grind, like determination. And
Yeah.
I just feel like it's just a good fit for me to work with athletes.
Nah, you definitely hit it on the head with, like, the relatability factor is huge. Like, it just like to be a black man who I could come and say, one, I he may have experienced X, Y, and Z that I've experienced in my life, and maybe I could talk to him about that. And I don't really know who to turn to, so I'm going to area like that alone is so huge because you don't see that much in the wellness space, in the mental health space. It's a person who doesn't look like us, and that's great, and it's well intentioned, but it's still, if you're trying to break down vulnerabilities and break down insecurities, especially as they relate to your identity, you need somebody who's going to be able to be on that level playing field.
And if I can add this, it's like our company relate to athletes. We really focus in on trying to reach those students who are the racial minority on the team.
Hmm.
No, not minority, racial majority on the team, but they are the
uh
minority on the campus.
in the school, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
You know, it's like a football player. Like you went to Vanderbilt. I mean,
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
played football, so you know once you step off that field or take off that uniform, you're walking around campus and people looking at you like, oh, you must be on the football team. Or
Yes. Yes.
they stereo like what you know how that goes. It's like so much that goes along with that. How do you as an athlete talk to a white woman or male counselor about feeling racially isolated?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's because you're having to explain a lot of the undertones before you even get to addressing the actual issue, and so Yeah, like when you can say, all right, we know all of this is happening, now let's start working on, forward, that just cuts down on so much time, and therapy is expensive. So like let's get to the let's get to it. Have you seen that your your vulnerability or the way that you communicate about your experiences in your life at a professional, I know it has to be professional level of doing that, but has your vulnerability helped with breaking down that vulnerability in others?
Man, no doubt. It's like I'll start like Brene Brown has
Mhm.
this statement that she said, and I use it a lot, where she mentioned that vulnerability is an accurate measure of a person's courage.
Mm. Yes.
Vulnerability is an accurate measure of a person's courage. And so when I heard that, I was thinking about it like, wow, she's right. It takes a lot to be, it takes courage to be vulnerable.
Yes,
To tell
absolutely.
somebody you're struggling or your weaknesses. It actually takes courage to do that. And
Yeah.
so when I'm working with my people, and we're into our work, and I'll just ask them. I'll say, "Do you feel weak right now?" They're like, "Nah,
Mhm.
not really. I don't feel weak. I feel empowered. I feel good." And
That's
I tell
good.
them, your vulnerability has allowed you to feel that way.
Yep.
The vulnerability is an accurate measure of courage. And I share that with them, and they're like, wow, that's true. I never thought about it that way. And so
Mhm.
as we build our relationship, I do disclose parts of my life that are relevant to what my client is dealing with. For one, to help with that relatability factor, like, hey,
Right.
this is my experience with it, so we can relate to some degree. But I'm vulnerable enough to talk to you about it in this space, and I'm pretty much exemplifying what I want them to be able to do
Mhm.
when they're working with me. So, absolutely, man, I lean on vulnerability. Especially working with athletes, it takes a lot
Yeah.
for an athlete to admit, like, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're generally worried about, you're not going to tell my coach, this is not going to get back to the
Mm.
team. And I'm like, no, man, this is confidential. This is between you and I. So the more vulnerable you are, the better it's going to be. And I say, hey,
Yep.
show yourself how courageous you are by allowing yourself to be vulnerable in this space.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think that was one of the reasons I started the podcast with the theme of vulnerability, because it's seen as a weakness. It's seen as, exposing yourself and the potential harms that could come from that. But in my life, since releasing the book, I've been extremely vulnerable, like publicly, which you don't have to be publicly vulnerable to get things out of you, but I've been publicly vulnerable about things, and it has only aided in my healing process. Like every time I tell a story that is deemed vulnerable by other people, it becomes easier. It becomes less, the trauma of it all becomes more of just the memory of it. And I think that's when we start to process a lot of the things that we go through. We're trying to take the negative association out of it, and just look at it for what it is. And so I love that you lead by example in that way, because I think that's the way to do it.
And speaking,
um
like I want to share this. I'm trying to seize the moment, right?
mhm,
Um, I remember when my sister passed away in 2004. I was like, bro, it was just, I don't know, man. It's hard losing a sibling. They say losing a sibling is like the hardest death to
mm,
deal with because
mm.
you're with them so much. This was My sister was a year and a half older than me, so we
Oh
grew up
man.
holding hands. She walking me across the street, like we did all of that, and then for her to be tragically, she died in a car accident.
Mm,
I was hurting, bro, and
yeah.
I just couldn't find. This was way before me getting therapy. Like that was, I had just graduated from college. 15 days later, my sister died. So I go from the highest
Wow.
of heights to the lowest of the depths of the lowest, right? And
Mm,
I was really struggling, and somehow this was the year that Tony Dungy, the football
mhm.
coach, his son committed. He died by suicide.
Yeah.
Uh, but he kept coaching. He missed like one game. He ended up winning the Super Bowl that season. And I was wondering, like, how is this man
Yeah.
whose son just died by suicide? How is he coaching his football team?
Yep.
Ended up finding out that the way he was able to deal with it and find his healing was by what you said, sharing the story over and
Mhm.
over. And so, from me hearing him say that, I read it in an article that he was being interviewed. And from me reading that, that's what I did. I
Yep.
started sharing that story more often, about what I was dealing with, because there was a time I couldn't even think about it without like breaking down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the more I talked about the story, the more I shared, about my sister's life, the easier it became. And then that's when I realized that there's a power in me sharing my story and being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
because it in fact is helping someone else. Just like
Absolutely.
when I heard it was helping Tony Dungy, it helped me. And
Yep.
so, just being vulnerable, sharing your story, it really does help somebody else who might be struggling. And so I just wanted to share that, just because,
Yeah. Thank you.
just trying to make put it all together, Reggie. We're talking about vulnerability and how it works, and I just want to share. Like, I'm just being vulnerable with you. This is a lot
Yeah.
like similar to a counseling session, how it would go.
Yeah.
But it was like the roles are
She giving
reversed.
them the secrets.
You asking me the questions, I'm like letting it go. You feel me? Once you start going, it's like I want to keep telling. I want to keep going
Absolutely.
and being more vulnerable. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And you know, I've lost a lot of people in my life and not a sibling. Came close, and even again the thought of that hurt more than I ever could have imagined. And so I yeah, man. So I'm lifting you up in every day because I know grief is not this set in stone thing where after a year is gone. Like it sticks with you for a lifetime, and smells and places and all those things bring back memories. So just know if you ever need some, bro, you got me. You can hit my line. So
No doubt, no
uh
doubt.
for
I got
real,
you. I
for
know it.
real.
I know you're serious. I know.
Yeah, definitely. Man, so tell me what is the when you thought of the conference, because the conference, I'm sure you got some great feedback. I thought the conference was fantastic, like from the speakers that you had to the content that they were talking about. And that dude Reggie D Ford that y'all had up there,
He was
he
killing it.
was
Crowd
yeah.
favorite, no doubt. I'm serious. Like we got
Nah, but
a lot of the feedback was about you, Reggie.
man,
For real.
you ain't gotta do that. Nah.
I'm serious. I mean, I just
I
got to tell you,
appreciate
man,
that.
you did a
I
great job.
appreciate that.
You were relatable.
What's up, Vulnerability Muscle fam? We've got an amazing sponsor to talk about today, and it's a product that has truly made a difference in my life. Call Me Go. Now, I only bring products that I believe in, and this is one that has been a game changer for me. Whenever I feel stressed, whenever I feel like things are just piling up and the anxiety is really cranking up, I turn to my Calm Me Go device. This is it right here. This thing is literally a game changer, and I was skeptical about it at first, but what makes this thing stand out? It combines three scientifically proven methods to reducing anxiety. First, there is a grounding technique, multisensory stimulation that really helps you stay present. So you have the feel of it, there's a vibration factor, there's lights, there's also smell. Then there's that scented element, tapping into the power of aromatherapy. But here's the kicker, and what really sets Calm Me Go apart is personalized breathing regulation. It's like having your own breathing coach in your pocket, in your hand. And so I use this when I'm gearing up for podcasts, when I'm starting my day, when I'm calming down and chilling out at the end of my day. It has been an absolute game changer. I love Calm Me Go because it's not a one size fit all solution. It's tailored to me, my body, my unique stress triggers. The impact it has on my daily life is undeniable. Now, I want you to experience the calm that Calm Me Go can bring to your life. Head over to callmego.com and use the code REGGIE444 at checkout for a fantastic $30 off. Trust me, this is an investment in your well being that you won't regret. Visit callmego.com, use the code REGGIE444 at checkout, and let Callmego help you find calm in the storm. And that's what it is, right? Yeah, and that's something I pride myself on is like in one my my trajectory of being. I grew up in the hood, then I was educated in Bellmead and just like all these in betweens, and so like being able to relate to a wide array of people is something I pride myself on while still staying true to who I am. And but my question is about the conference and just your vision really with relate to athletes. Where does the conference go next year, and then where does the business go? Or what is the ultimate goal, or like you see it all come to fruition? What does relate to athletes look like?
So, I was just asked this question. I was at Trevecca University today meeting with their athletic director, and he asked me the same question. And what we see ourselves as, we want to be one of the leading agencies, leading go to agencies to help student athletes that is not affiliated with the university,
Hmm.
because a lot of the challenges that we hear when we work with athletes, they say they don't trust the staff because they think it's going to get back to the coach. And if it gets back to my coach, like we just discussed, and that was my experience working at Tennessee State. I had to
Hmm.
earn the trust of the athletes to know that what they discuss with me is not going to get back to the coach, because I mean, just to be frank, some of the stuff could get you suspended. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, it can get you kicked off the team. And what happens if you get kicked off a team and you're an athlete? You lose your scholarship. You
Man.
lose your whole opportunity to be in college.
Right.
So some of this I need to keep
Yeah.
personal, right? And so we want to be one of the leading agencies that is not affiliated with the school, that we can come in and help provide our services to student athletes, psychoeducation services. Our biggest thing right now is we have the Safe Student, the Safe Student certification for mental wellness. It's 11 modules where we're teaching you how to take care of yourself. Right, we're going to give you some knowledge around mental health, common things, anxiety, depression, suicide, because suicide is the leading cause of death among college students right now. Death by suicide. Right, it's staggering. Makes us stop and think.
Wow.
Like, that's the leading cause of death among college students is
Oh
death
my
by suicide.
goodness.
So
Mm.
we equipped you to not only take care of yourself, we also equipped you to learn how to help other people who might be struggling, and we equipped you to learn how to build an atmosphere, a safe space on your campus, so that you can just cultivate this campus of, hey man, we all going through something, but if we're all together, especially within the confines of the athletics, then we can help each other. And then what happens is we all perform at our desired level, right?
Yep.
It's different from mental performance training. There's like
Hmm.
great organizations doing that.
Hmm.
And I learned about a program today. I think it's called the Green Bandana. Are you aware of the Green Bandana
I'm
something?
not. No. Hadn't
It's
heard of it.
I think it's a program through the NCAA. I just heard about it this morning, and so it sounds like it's similar to what we do. But what we do is the thing that we have. Our secret weapon is the relatability factor. That's
Right.
why we call
Yeah.
relate to athletes. We
Yeah.
have professional athletes. We have people like you. We have trained professionals in mental health. We have current student athletes. Like, it's just a relatability factor that helps us do what we do. Yes,
Hmm.
anyone can come in and teach you how to do deep breathing for anxiety. Anybody can. But there's a different conversation along with the skill that you learn, right? And
Yep.
we teach you like why it's important to do it, even from a cultural perspective.
Hmm.
Right? That's the thing in counseling, is you need to be culturally competent. It's not just knowing that, yeah, people were enslaved, or there's racism, but how does that show up in a therapy session?
Yeah.
I had a white
Yeah.
therapist once. I've had two, and I was talking about racial issues. One of them flat out told me, I really just can't help
Mm.
you. I
Wow.
don't
That's
know.
honest though, and I,
Yeah,
I would appreciate that. Like, let's
I was
cut
so
to the
grateful
chase.
for this woman,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we weren't wasting time.
Right.
And I'm a very straightforward guy. Like, and when I'm in therapy, I'm trying to be like vulnerable,
Get the most out of it. Yeah.
and it could be offensive to a white therapist. The things that I might say, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be
Absolutely.
offensive, but it could
Yep.
come off as like, well, damn, like
This guy hates white people.
you know what I'm saying? Well, that's not even the case, but it could come off
No.
that way, right?
Exactly.
I'm in
Yeah.
therapy talking about, man, I don't understand why when I walk in the store, a black dude with long hair, like, why they treating me this way,
Right.
or
Right.
just those little things that happen in our lives. Um, Being culturally competent is not just knowing that happens, but
Hmm.
how do you show up for a person in a session to where your competency comes through, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that's just the relatability is our thing, and so we see ourselves as we want to be one of the leading go-to agencies to come in and provide psychoeducation and life coaching services for student athletes.
That's so amazing. So are the folks that you grew up with, are they in this, did they get into mentoring? Did they get into mental health? What how are you in a different space than the folks you grew up with, or what are some of the things? Because I could list, the people that I rocked with when I was younger, their lives went a different route. Not because they were good or bad or anything else, but their lives went a different route. What are some of the things that have differentiated in your life compared to some of the others?
I'm literally the only guy that's doing this type of work. And it's so weird to me how my life is now. Like I got day ones, like my
Mhm.
folks, right? Um, like BJ, your
Mhm.
actual blood. Like these are my guys. They're all most of my friends are older than me, and
Mhm.
it's so
Same.
it's humbling to me when they say they look up to me.
Yeah.
All the mentoring that I did. Now my life as a therapist and helping people and the things that they see me doing, they're just like so encouraged by just my life's journey. And I'm always wondering, like, wow, I look up to y'all. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You guys are the guys that helped really shape me. You know what I'm saying? And so although we all have different paths or we all took different paths, um, our relationships are still tight and they don't I guess I call it like free counseling, like being that
Yeah.
we're friends, I'm like, hey, you got a free counselor in your life. And so it's just kind of the way that it is, man. We all do different things, and a lot of my friends, they like, oh man, you don't work, like, because they don't they think I don't work. I'm like, I go to work almost every
Look,
day, like
I
almost every day
gotta
I'm working.
I gotta it's funny, like when I growing up, right, you got people who they talk about what their parents do or what they see in the job, but like I got some cousins who be like, you either got an office job or a non-office job, right? And the office job appears to be not working, right? If I can sit behind the computer, chill, I might kick my feet up at home, but like, sit behind the computer all day long, it's not the same as having to lift something or having to like really be physically demanding in your labor. So
Driving
that's
trucks. I got friends
yeah.
who drive trucks, just doing whatever they need to do, just and they think I don't work. I'm like, I work. I do brain work.
That and
You know,
that is
yeah,
exhausting.
it's very
It's
exhausting.
exhausting.
But,
Yeah.
a
And you
lot of
got
people, yeah.
speak on this because I think this is another part of some of the things that exhaust people in your position is compassion fatigue. Right. So you're hearing stories of people's lives and especially when they start to disclose a lot and are vulnerable with you. How does that affect you and what do you do to protect yourself around that?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, um, and for some reason, it does not phase me.
Really?
Maybe it's because I only see so many people in a day. Like some therapists, they're like 8 hours, 8 clients,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't understand how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because my max is like 3 or 4. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to really do more than that. If I see
Mm-hmm.
4 people, I was like getting it that day. It's just 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, Reggie. It's I think it's just because I'm called to this work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm called to it. Like I'm equipped with whatever you need to be able to do this work without being stressed out when someone tells you that their mom died because she slipped and fell in the shower and
Mm.
you walked in the house and found her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the next person comes in and tells you that they have an STD and they feel like their life is over. And then the person after that is talking about they don't even want to be an athlete anymore, but they can't because you know how that goes. They have to.
Right.
They have to some degree.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So when you hear all these things, yes, it can be taxing and it is. But for me, I promise you, if I'm thinking about my clients when I leave the office or when we're done, it's like I'm thinking, I hope that they are doing the things that they identify they need to do in a session. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
rehashing what they're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
um, because I don't want to say this, I don't want to seem like too casual about it, but the fact of the matter is, it's not my life. I have to come home and
Yeah.
live my own life.
No, it's real.
Right. And
That's
so if
real.
I'm too into another person's life and their challenges, how am I going to take care of myself?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
real.
that's like a boundary that I have with myself. And again, I'm normally active, riding bikes, boxing, coaching, doing my thing, taking care of myself to make sure that I'm good in order to help the
Mm-hmm.
people that I help. So I've
Yeah.
never really, and I take time off. I mean, I am off a lot. I mean, I just be honest. I'm off a lot because of what I do. And like you
Yeah,
said,
you got yeah,
therapy
you gotta
therapy
take care of
not
yourself.
cheap, so I'm getting paid good.
Yeah.
But that's really it, Rich. I think my calling is a part of my life's purpose is to help people to be in this
Yeah.
role. And I guess I'm just blessed to be equipped with what it takes. Now I
Yeah.
remember one time, Reggie, there was a young lady, she was an athlete, and her father passed away. And that was the one time I actually got emotional in a session, to
Mhm.
where I literally had to excuse myself and walk out of the room
Wow.
because I didn't want to. I need to. I'm the therapist. I can't be in here like crying.
What
Um,
was it about that situation that made you so
it was
emotional?
just how sad she was, bro, and how
Mhm.
she was talking about her dad, and she just. I think that's all it was. It didn't really. It just triggered me, like just that compassion. I was just feeling so um, I was, when you are connected to a person, when they hurt, you hurt. When there's a
Yeah.
real connection. She had been my client for a while, and her dad was struggling with cancer, and he finally transitioned. And so
Mhm.
I'm like a part of that for a long time. And then
Wow.
she comes in and tells me that it happened, and it was I was hurting with her in that moment.
Yeah.
Stepped out for a minute, got myself together, went back in and did what I had to do. We ended the session because I need to be able to end the session in that time because if I'm impaired, I can't really help you. It's just like
Right.
the right thing to do
Right.
ethically. And so we did end the session, but that's one time where it was emotional for me. And I hear a lot, man. You can only imagine
Mhm.
the things that a therapist hears day in and day out. But again, I attribute my wellness to the fact that I'm called to do it. Everybody can't do this work.
Yeah. You mentioned a very key thing, boundary. Like it's a boundary that you set, and like whether it is something that was just innately in you or you've learned it over time. That's something that I had to grow into. Like I think when I was younger, which I'm learning is a trauma response of just how empathetic I was toward other people's pain. Like that would sit with me, and it would sit with me for a long time until where I'm trying to solve their problem. And to your point, like it's not being in when you learn boundaries and when you understand what you said about, that's not your life, like that's the truth, right? I cannot carry your pain with me all the way. I can be compassionate, I can be helpful and supportive at the time, but I'm gonna have to do the things that help, keep me going in everyday life. So but you mentioned, and feel free to not comment on this or comment on this, but you mentioned your mom growing up, and then I was just curious about the story with her and her father. Do you care to comment on your relationship with your father at all?
I don't mind commenting on it. It's not much to say, to be honest with you, Reggie. I met my dad when I was 20 years old.
Mhm.
Really, well, I guess if I talk about it, there's a story. So my mom was married to a man that I thought was my dad up until I turned 14 years old. And
Mm.
my sister, who is now deceased, we were joking one day, and she said, she's made a joke like "Yo, daddy" or something like that. And I'm sitting here thinking, why would you say that we have the same daddy? Like, and from that joke, it was revealed to me that you guys don't have the same dad.
Wow.
And I was 14 years old.
Mm.
Um, and from that moment, I was just like, back in the day, like uh, Maury Povich, like those type of. You remember that show? I'm like Asian. I was back in the day, right? And they would have these fraternity tests, and they're trying to find the dad. I was
Mhm.
like, man, I want to be on that show so I can find out who my dad is because I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
But all along, my sister who's deceased, we had the same father. She knew him the whole time, bro.
Wow.
We would go over
Wow.
there. We would go to my family's house. My family, they have embraced me completely. Everybody knew except me, bro.
Wow.
Everybody knew except me.
Mm.
And so when my sister passed, that's when it all came to a head. Like I remember my aunt, she was like, "Look, I'm your auntie." You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
know you
Yeah.
don't know me or whatever, but I've been knowing you all this time. I'm your auntie. Whatever it is, I don't know why you don't. Your mom never told you that your dad is your dad, but I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, "Yes, it's true." And so I met him at 20, and I thought that we'd have this like relationship, but it didn't turn
Mhm.
out to be that way. In fact, I was just talking to some friends the other day. I love my dad because he brought me into this world, right? We
Right.
don't we don't even have any type. I mean, I don't want to say any. I know if we like see each other at a family reunion or something like that,
Yeah.
he'll be so proud of me and like this, talking to me and like hugging on me. But if I call him, he ain't gonna answer the phone. I
Wow.
told my wife the other day, she did not know this, but I call my dad on Father's Day every year, and he never answers the phone, and he
Really?
never he never calls me back.
How old are you now?
I'm 42 years old.
So you've met him 22 years ago.
I've been knowing this man 22 years. And
Mhm.
I haven't always, probably started calling him maybe like 4 or 5 years ago on Father's Day, just
Mhm.
because I just want to say Happy Father's Day to somebody. I've never even said Happy Father's Day to anybody, like not well,
Yeah.
my friends, but like my dad. And
Right.
so my kids, now that I have children, and I'm just like, I tell them like, man, y'all are so blessed to have something that I never had, which
Mhm.
is a relationship with your dad. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And then they're like, "You don't have a daddy?" I'm like, "I do have a dad." And they met my dad, but when I say things like I didn't have my dad growing up, they interpret it as like I don't have a dad,
Right.
even though they met this man, right?
Yeah.
That's
But it's
really it,
beautiful that
man.
their normal doesn't can't even fathom that, right? It just I love that because like you've been that presence in their lives and that's beautiful. Like how has yeah, how has it impacted your father, your parenting? Like how do you show up for them or do you feel like you're overcompensating or just how has it impacted your
Yeah,
fathering?
man. I try not to overcompensate. I'm just their dad. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be like my dad didn't teach me anything about anything, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I just focus on being their daddy. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I just focus on being a good dad to them and giving them the resources that they need, giving them the time that they need, the patience, the love, the care, the discipline. I just focus on being a good dad. And when
Mhm.
I had my son, who's 5 now, I was like worried that I wouldn't be a good dad to him specifically because he's a black male. I'm like, dang man, I'm about to be this boy's daddy, and I didn't have my daddy.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I was reminded in that moment was, look at all the other men that you have that
Yeah.
that imparted into you. My best friend is my mama's age. My friend Ron Johnson, you know Ron. Uh,
Yeah.
he's my mother's age. He's 1 year older than my mom, and we're together
Wow.
every day, talk every day. I met Ron in 2007, and he's
Mhm.
like a friend. He's not like a father. He don't try to do that, but I mean, he's my mama's age, right? And so I
Mhm.
learned so much from him. I watch him parent his children. But like the question you asked, bro, I'm just focused on being the best dad to these children that I have as possible. I don't think about
Yes.
my dad didn't do this and I didn't. No, man, I'm just trying to be there for my kids.
That's beautiful. I love that because I'll be honest, like I not right now. If I were to be asked, like, do you want kids? It's like it's a no for me because of one. I think fears of perpetuating the things that I don't want, and what I got from my father, and so I don't want to do that, and I think I've learned enough about myself and healed enough to prevent some of those things, but I think a lot is inevitable or some is inevitable. But then the other piece is just bringing a black kid whether it be a boy or girl into this world. Do you ever have fears around that and just from you to me, big bro to little bro advice on dealing with that?
Man, I wouldn't too much worry about it. And what I mean, let me qualify what I mean. I mean, it is what it is, man. If you want to have children, you being a black man, and I don't even like saying black because, like, what is black? Like, where's black land? Like, that doesn't say anything about who you are, where you're from. It's just a cultural thing. Like, you being a
Mhm.
man of African descent or whatever descent you might be of, if you have children, they're going to have it too. And it is I mean, you could be fearful, fear is false evidence appearing real. We make up these things in our head that we think will happen to our children, and that it grips us. Fear is gripping, and so I would say, man, if you want to bring children into this world, you know what they will deal with. Just help them navigate it. Create an environment to where they are confident in themselves as people who have skin that looks like ours. Right?
Mhm.
There's books in my house. I mean, I'm just looking at a wall full of books with black people
Yeah.
celebrating our culture, talking to my kids about it, making sure that they are very confident. My kids are of darker complexion. And so, like, making sure that they are all the way confident in who they are as people so that when they do go out into the world and they encounter stupidity and ignorance, they have a backdrop that's like, wait a minute, that's not what I grew up thinking about myself. Like
Mhm.
Coach Prime said it recently, your perception of me is not that I have of myself. So why would I care about what you think about me?
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
how I raise my kids.
That's
And
beautiful.
so, I I mean, it is difficult to some degree being a parent of brown kids, black kids, or but at the same time, man, it is what it is. I wanted to have kids, and so we brought them
Yeah.
into this world, and we made sure that they're equipped to handle the world. And then the thing is, like I let my kids know that our people are the majority in the world. Like, there's more people that look like you in this world
Right.
than those
Yeah.
that are trying to make you feel bad about looking the way you look.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. The global majority.
Yeah, we're the
Yeah.
global majority. Like, you
Yeah.
might not see it in this country, uh, or in the media or in anything that you watch, but we have to educate our kids. So that's another thing, Reggie. Like, when you have kids, you have to educate your kids. You cannot rely on the school system to be the main teacher of your children. Learning starts at
Mhm.
home first. The mother is the
Mhm.
first teacher. The dad is the second teacher. If either one of them is absent, then you deal with that. But at the same time, you just have to raise really strong, confident children. And I mean, that's just what I would say, man. I
No,
wouldn't let
that's
fear,
real. That's real.
stop you from having a family. Not
No,
me
that's real.
specifically, but just anyone who's thinking about that. Man, I mean, I think every black parent has dealt with this to some degrees, and we're doing good. Our kids are good. My parents,
Yeah.
my mom dealt with it. I'm a grown man. I'm fine. You're a grown man. You're fine. So I wouldn't. I would say, not to be too casual again, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. No, I like that. What is something y'all did this summer that was fun that lit up you and the kids?
Man, we took our kids to they found out about Holiday World. You ever heard of Holiday World?
Yeah.
They found
Yeah.
out about it and they asked us to take them, and we took them. And they had a ball, like riding roller coasters for the first time. And I really realized how much heart my kids have, because my daughter was like, I got a picture on my fridge. We riding this roller coaster. She wanted to ride. I'm like, you sure you want to ride this? Like, me and my wife looked at each other like, I don't really want to ride it, but my wife's like, I'm definitely not getting on that thing. And so I'm on this, the thing that goes up and it just drops down.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I don't
For
like that.
some reason, my 7-year-old daughter wanted to do that.
Mm.
And I saw how much heart and courage she had, because she looked right at it and was not stressing it. She walked up to the thing like, oh, daddy, I'm tall enough to do it, because I'm trying to kind of finesse my way out of it. And she's like, I'm tall enough to do it. Let's do it. So we get in the line and we did it. She wanted to do it again. We did it 3 times.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
just seeing your children in those moments, just seeing it, it's just amazing, Reggie. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just so amazing. Something so simple as taking your children to a theme park is just so fulfilling as a parent, to see the smile on their face. Me and my wife, we spent 8 hours at the theme park. You know,
Mhm.
it was just amazing, and so that was like the highlight of our summer. I took my daughter to my wife and I. We took our daughter to the Beyonce concert.
Oh,
And we
wow.
use it as like I try not to shelter. We try to not like expose too soon, but not over shelter. And so
Yeah.
before we went, we were like, you're gonna see a lot of different people out here dressed a certain way, showing up. You might see same sex couples or whatever you might see. We gave her a heads up for, so it wasn't like a shock. She had a great time, bro.
Good.
Like,
Good.
and the show wasn't like it wasn't like X rated or nothing like that. It was a few things that was like, oh, I don't know about, but we knew that because my wife went twice. My wife went with her friends, and then we went again. Uh,
Wow.
but and then my son, getting into sports, he plays football, coaches football team, flag
Oh,
football team, and just
nice.
having those moments with your kids, man, it's just amazing, right? There's really no way for me to. Any parent knows, man. It's just hard to just really explain it, but it's a good feeling.
Nah, I appreciate that. That's beautiful right there.
Yeah,
I wanna do a rapid response. I wanna do a couple questions.
let's do it.
First thing that comes to your mind, just let me know.
All right,
All right. What comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
courage.
Yes. If you could have a conversation with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
I would probably want to talk to either Bob Marley or Frederick Douglass.
Those are new. I like that. What is one of your favorite childhood memories?
Oh man, one of my favorite childhood memories. Favorite childhood memories. Dang, I'm not. I got to go back a few pages in the Rolodex. I'm
Yeah,
42.
let's do it. Dig
Uh,
it up.
one of my favorite childhood memories. I don't even know, Reggie. Let me think. I got to think about this. Favorite, man. It's not every day you asked about your childhood.
I know.
Let's come back to the past.
All right, we can come back to it. We can come back to it. What is a book or movie that everyone should read or watch?
A book or a movie that everyone should read or watch. A book. I'm thinking book. Let's go with book. There's a book. Your book, number one. Let's start with that.
Okay. Shout out.
PTSD.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
really enjoyed
sir.
reading the book, man. I really did. A book, one book. It just depends. Like I'm thinking of one of Tony Dungy's books called Quiet Strength. That
Mm,
was a really good book, but it may not be applicable to everybody, but it was good to me. There's a book called Conversations with God. I think
okay.
it's a series of books actually. That's a really good one. Conversations with God is a book that I would highly recommend people read.
Okay. I haven't
It's
heard
a
of
good
that. I'm
one.
gonna check it out.
You
I'm gonna
should
check
check
it
it out,
out.
Rich. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good book, bro. There's another
Okay.
book that my doctor gave me called How Not to Die.
Mm.
This talks about like what you put in your body is
Oh
basically
yeah.
what's gonna kill you or keep you
Oh
alive.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are
Oh,
some good
that's important.
titles. Yep,
Thank
yep,
you. You just gave me a couple of things. I'm gonna be
yep.
reading.
Conversations
And
with God, How Not to Die. Yep.
that. Uh, you probably mentioned this already, but what is one thing you do to relax when you're feeling stressed?
Man, go for a bike ride, go for a walk, go for a run. Just isolate, not necessarily isolate myself, but just kind of go in my own space, quiet
Yeah,
things down. Just try to quiet things down, man, and just chill. Yep.
absolutely.
Really riding my
Absolutely.
bike is like my theme. I was just hopping my bike, ride like 10, 15 miles. It's just like, man, I want to do it now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 definitely. And then lastly, what is the number one podcast you've ever experienced?
Man, vulnerability with Reggie D. Ford, man. Embracing vulnerability with Reggie D. Ford is the best
Yes, sir.
podcast. I'm really glad to be a part of this today, man. I really am. I appreciate you giving me the invitation.
Man, I'm glad to have you because I mean you have so much insight and you do so much for so many people. And I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to, give you your flowers because uh I'm gonna be one of those people. I look up to you, bro. And so keep doing what you're doing. Keep making a difference in the world. How can people get in touch with you? How can they find you, learn about all the work that you're doing?
Man, the easiest way to get in touch. I'm like, this is what I'm actually kind of minimizing my social media. So right now, I'm down to one Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, Eric D. Capehart, just my name. You can go to relatetoathletes.com to learn about what we do professionally, or I'm on LinkedIn as well at Eric D. Capehart. So those are the spaces where you can find me.
I like that, diving in on the one social media and elevate that for sure. Well, Eric, with all the things you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you for being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Oh, this is dope, bro. Keep it up, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for another powerful episode of Vulnerability Muscle. I hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that resonate with you. If you're enjoying this journey of self discovery and empowerment, there are a few ways you can support the podcast. First, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. If you've been moved by our conversations and the mission of redefining vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us, but also helps others discover the podcast. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in. And don't forget to spread the word. Follow us on Instagram at Vulnerability Muscle for updates, and you can connect with me personally at Reggie D Ford on all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and upcoming episodes. And remember, embracing vulnerability is strength. Thanks for being a part of the journey. Until next time, stay empowered, stay vulnerable, and keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.